The 49ers just had their best case scenario come to fruition this offseason with Robert Saleh rejoining the team as the defensive coordinator. Now, there was a lot of speculation that Robert Saleh could potentially be the next head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He had a couple of interviews with different teams. In fact, he was slated to have a second interview with the Jacksonville Jaguars when, lo and behold, Liam Cohen of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ended up signing as the next head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And many people had the question of what if, what takes, what gives. And ultimately it came down to another 49ers connection, former GM Trent Baalke. Yes, that Trent Baalke, the one where Jed York chose Trent Baalke over Jim Harbaugh. The one that had issues putting a good team together on the field. The one that Jacksonville Jaguars made their GM to help the team become relevant again, which did not happen. Well, it turned out Trent Baalke ended up being not a good selling point for potential head coaches. And so after that, Shad Khan decided to go ahead and let go and relieve Trent Baalke from GM duties, making that position a hot commodity, which means Liam Cohen, who initially said no to the job, went back to the negotiating table and signed to be the next head coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was the offensive coordinator for the Bucs, but now is the head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Which means Robert Saleh was a free agent again and available for the 49ers, because what ended up happening was Pete Carroll then signed with the Raiders, and we know Mike Vrabel ended up being the head coach for the Patriots, and it really limited the other options out there for Robert Saleh. But the good news, according to Matt Mayoko, is Robert Saleh already made the team aware of this, that if he did not get a head coaching opportunity, then he would be the next defensive coordinator for the 49ers, which is really what the 49ers wanted the whole time. He was at the top of their list, and it was really a waiting game. A lot of drama. Other top defensive coordinator candidates got signed left and right. In fact, there were a lot of 49ers fans who wanted Jeff Ulbrich. I was not one of them. In fact, after Robert Saleh got fired as the Jets head coach, at the time, the Jets had the top 5 pass defense and the top 10 to 12 run defense. After he left, Jeff Ulbrich had the worst statistical defense in the entire NFL. The worst. That is not a typo. That is not misinformation. He had the worst statistical defense in the entire NFL. Now, Jeff Ulbrich, is 49ers royalty. He was a linebacker next to Derek Smith alongside Julian Peterson. He was one of my favorite players. He was number 53 before Navarro Bowman. Jeff Ulbrich, you always noticed him next to Derek Smith because Jeff Ulbrich was the one who had more cut-up arms. He was really that run stuffer. Not great in pass defense, but was a great run stuffer for the 49ers. And again, 49ers royalty. And so when you see him have success in the league, the first thing that you want to do is, come back home. The problem is, while he's probably a good leader of men, able to get that, it doesn't seem he runs the scheme very well. Because while he should be running Robert Saleh's scheme, because after Saleh left and got fired from the Jets, they had the worst statistical defense, and that was with Jeff Ulbrich at the helm. Now, you might be asking, what was the difference? Well, Robert Saleh, similar to Kyle Shanahan, called the defensive plays as the head coach. So while Jeff Ulbrich had the defensive coordinator title, it was really Saleh calling the plays, which tells you that there's still a lot of room for improvement for Jeff Ulbrich. He could be a great defensive coordinator in the future. In fact, he just got signed by the Atlanta Falcons to be their new defensive coordinator. But I think the 49ers dodged a bullet in this case, and the best case scenario happened with Robert Saleh coming back to the 49ers. Because let's be honest, not only does Saleh have a good history and has been able to show and put the evidence on tape, but also DeMeco Ryans, who's his protege, is doing well in Houston as the Texans head coach. And so Robert Saleh, not only did he do well with the 49ers, he also helped turn the Jets into one of the top defenses in the NFL while he was there. Again, after he left, Jeff Ulbrich took over and they had the worst statistical defense in the entire NFL. Now, can Robert Saleh do it again? And all signs point to yes, but there's only 2 returning defensive starters during his tenure here that are with the team. So what are going to be Robert Saleh's kind of priorities? Well, I think first things first is he's going to have total autonomy over the defense. It's been reported that Brandon Staley will not be returning in his defensive kind of assistant consultant role, which means Robert Saleh is going to have total autonomy over his assistant coaches, what he brings, and the system he implements, which he absolutely should have, because he's proven time and time again and with different teams that he can have a top tier defense. Now, if I'm Robert Saleh, I want to rebuild those trenches. One of the things that made him one of the top defensive coordinators is the trenches. That's what he built when he went over to the Jets. That's what he had with the 49ers when they went to the Super Bowl, had the top statistical defense in the NFL. And I think that's what he wants to get back to. There's possibilities where you might have some players like a DJ Reed, who is a corner, who's now a free agent, who comes back to the 49ers to replace Charvarius Ward, who's also a free agent. You might have a Kinlock potentially come back to help back up at that defensive tackle position. There's a lot of potentials out there that could happen, and a lot of moving parts. Typically, you see when a coach transfers over, they'll bring some of their regime over to help install that defense. Luckily, the 49ers are already run a similar style to that defense, but I think Robert Saleh can get them over that hump and back to the roots. And it all begins with the defensive line. But Robert Saleh coming back also pays dividends, because the 49ers also interviewed with Brant Boyer, who was the special teams coordinator for the Jets. Now, first off, any upgrade from being dead last as special teams coach is going to be an upgrade. Anybody that you interview, and Brant Boyer has been a special teams coach for years for the Jets, was there prior to Robert Saleh going there. And Nick Sorensen's already been said he won't be retained. It's already been reported. And the fact that if Robert Saleh can also get Brant Boyer over to be the special teams coordinator, I think that's going to pay huge dividends for the 49ers, because it shows that they're willing to change and not just bring somebody in because of a relationship. Now, Robert Saleh, yes, there's a relationship there, but guess what? He proves what he can do on the field. He proves by the players he puts around in his system. And Brant Boyer brings out in an outside perspective to help the 49ers get out of their own way. And I think this is going to be great for the 49ers. I think Robert Saleh coming in early rather than late helps them to prioritize during free agency who they need to run this system well. If Robert Saleh was hired, let's just say March, they'd be behind the eight ball when it comes to bringing in players to implement the system. So good on the 49ers, good on Robert Saleh, good on them making him the highest paid defensive coordinator in the entire league. I'm really looking forward to what free agency is going to bring, what the draft's going to bring, because Robert Saleh is going to have a voice in those areas, and we're going to start seeing his DNA and his fingerprints in all the things that the 49ers do this offseason. While the 49ers need to address the trenches on the defense, they need to address them on the offensive side as well. But you can bet your top dollar that the 49ers are going to definitely throw some money at that defensive line, because Robert Saleh is there. Well, great news for 49ers. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time here in Ninerology.